He married a man with a perfect smile, but on their wedding night he froze completely. The hotel suite in downtown Manhattan, with its floor-to-ceiling windows framing the glittering chaos of Times Square, should have been a sanctuary of celebration. Instead, Joshua Hartley's heart hammered like a trapped animal as Kenneth's fingers brushed his collar, that flawless grin faltering into something hungry and unfamiliar. Joshua's mind splintered into fragments of the day. The vows exchanged under a canopy of white roses in Central Park, the cheers from friends who'd flown in from across the country, the way Kenneth's laugh had cut through the autumn chill like sunlight. But now, in the dim glow of the bedside lamp, Joshua's body betrayed him. Not with desire, but with a paralyzing dread that clawed up from his gut. I can't, he whispered, stepping back, his voice cracking like thin ice. Kenneth's smile vanished, replaced by a flicker of confusion that deepened into hurt. Josh, what's wrong? We've waited so long for this. The words hung heavy, laced with the raw vulnerability of a man who'd bared his soul in front of 200 witnesses. Joshua turned away, pressing his palms against the cool glass window, staring out at the anonymous lights below, wondering how love could feel so much like drowning. The city pulsed below them, indifferent to the unraveling of a dream. Joshua had always known he was gay. Hell, he'd figured that out in the sticky heat of a high school locker room in suburban Ohio, stealing glances at the quarterback's sweat-glistened shoulders. But loving Kenneth? That had been a revelation. A slow burn that started with a spilled coffee in a Brooklyn bookstore and ignited into something Joshua swore could outshine the stars over the Hudson. It was 3 years ago, on a drizzly October afternoon, when Joshua first saw that smile. He was 28, a graphic designer scraping by in a cramped Williamsburg loft, his days a blur of freelance gigs and late-night sketches that never quite captured the ache in his chest. Kenneth Ellis, 32 and impossibly polished, was browsing the philosophy section, his broad shoulders straining against a crisp button-down, blonde hair tousled just enough to look effortless. Joshua, arms laden with dog-eared copies of Whitman and Baldwin, collided with him at the end of the aisle. "Shit, sorry," Joshua stammered, coffee splashing across Kenneth's loafers like abstract art gone wrong. Kenneth looked down, then up, and there it was. That smile, white teeth flashing against sun-kissed skin, crinkles at the corners of his blue eyes that promised mischief and warmth in equal measure. No harm done. Consider it a modern baptism into the cult of bad aim. His voice was smooth, laced with a faint southern drawl that Joshua later learned came from summers in Savannah, a remnant of a childhood spent dodging his father's Bible-thumping sermons. They talked for hours that day, the bookstore fading into irrelevance as Kenneth confessed his own hidden truths. The corporate lawyer from Atlanta who'd traded magnolia trees for Manhattan high-rises to escape a family that still whispered about fixing him. Joshua shared his own scars, the conservative parents who'd cut ties after his coming out at 20, the string of hookups that left him hollow. By closing time, Kenneth had his number, and Joshua had a spark he hadn't felt since college. Their first date was at a hole-in-the-wall jazz club in the Village, where the saxophone wailed like a lover's lament. Kenneth arrived with a bottle of bourbon under his arm. "For courage," he said with a wink, and they sat in a shadowed booth, knees brushing under the table. Joshua watched the way Kenneth's fingers drummed the glass in time with the music, strong and sure, and felt a pull deeper than lust. "You know," Kenneth murmured, leaning close enough for Joshua to catch the scent of sandalwood and rain. "I think souls recognize each other before brains catch up." That night, they kissed in the alley behind the club, rain slicking their skin, Kenneth's hands framing Joshua's face like he was something precious. It was electric, tentative at first, then fierce. Joshua's back against the brick wall, Kenneth's body a solid anchor against the storm. When they broke apart, gasping, Kenneth rested his forehead against Joshua's. "I've been waiting for you," he said simply, and Joshua believed him. From there it was a whirlwind. Weekends tangled in sheets, lazy brunches at diners where Kenneth would steal Joshua's fries with that grin, road trips upstate where they'd hike trails hand in hand, whispering dreams under starlit skies. Kenneth was everything Joshua hadn't known he needed. Steady where Joshua was scattered, ambitious without arrogance. A man who listened with his whole body, who traced the faded tattoo on Joshua's ribcage, a rainbow infinity symbol from his first pride, and called it your armor. But beneath the romance, cracks simmered. Kenneth's job at the firm demanded 80-hour weeks, leaving him exhausted and distant some nights. Joshua, ever the worrier, would pace his loft, sketching Kenneth's profile from memory, wondering if the intensity scared him off. And then there were the calls. Late-night rings from a number Joshua didn't recognize. Kenneth stepping into the bathroom with hurried apologies. "Just work," he'd say, emerging with that perfect smile. And Joshua would let it go, because who was he to question paradise? 6 months in, Kenneth proposed on the Brooklyn Bridge at sunrise, down on one knee with a ring that caught the light like a captured dawn. "Marry me, Josh. Let's build something real. Something they can't take away." Tears stung Joshua's eyes as he said yes, the city waking around them like a blessing. Their engagement was a blur of tastings and fittings, friends toasting their fairy tale, at parties where champagne flowed like confessions. The wedding planning brought them closer, or so Joshua thought. They argued over venues, Kenneth pushing for something grander than Joshua's rustic vision, but always made up with laughter and lovemaking that left them breathless. Joshua's sister, Emily, the only family who'd stuck by him, flew in from Cleveland, hugging Kenneth like a brother. "He's got you glowing," she whispered to Joshua. "Don't let go." Yet, as the date approached, Joshua's freezes started. Small ones at first, a hesitation before intimacy, a nightmare where Kenneth's smile twisted into a stranger's leer. He chalked it up to nerves, the weight of forever pressing down. Therapy helped, a queer counselor in Chelsea who unpacked Joshua's abandonment fears. But the wedding night loomed like a shadow. And now, here they were. Joshua's back to the window, tuxedo jacket discarded on the floor, the silk tie loosened like a noose. Kenneth approached slowly, hands raised in surrender. "Talk to me, baby. Please." His voice was soft, edged with the fear of a man who'd fought too hard for this moment. Joshua turned, chest tight. "It's not you. God, Kenneth, you're everything. But I feel like I'm pretending, like this perfect life is a costume that doesn't fit." The words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered, the dam breaking. Kenneth's face crumpled, but he didn't retreat. Instead, he closed the distance, pulling Joshua into his arms. Not demanding, but holding, as if he could will away the storm. "Then we'll make it fit. Together. That's what vows are for." They stood like that for what felt like hours. The city's hum a distant lullaby, until exhaustion claimed them. Joshua didn't sleep, but in Kenneth's embrace, the freeze thawed, just a little. The morning after brought hangovers and apologies, but also a fragile resolve. They honeymooned in the Hamptons, days of salt-kissed beaches and nights of tentative reconnection. Kenneth was patient, his touches gentle, coaxing Joshua back to himself with stories of his own wedding night jitters from a teenage fantasy. Laughter returned, slow at first, then in waves. Joshua sketched them on the sand, Kenneth's profile against the waves, and felt the love settle deeper, roots taking hold. Back in the city, life resumed its rhythm. Joshua landed a steady gig at an ad agency, his designs gracing billboards that made strangers smile. Kenneth made partner at the firm, toasts ringing out at a gala where Joshua stood proud by his side, hand in the back pocket of those tailored slacks. They adopted a rescue mutt named Scout, who bounded through their new Bushwick brownstone like a furry tornado, forcing them to navigate spills and stolen socks as a team. But the undercurrent persisted. Those mystery calls grew sporadic, then stopped altogether, leaving Joshua to wonder if he'd imagined them. Kenneth threw himself into pro bono work for LGBTQ+ rights, speaking at rallies with a fire that made Joshua's heart swell. "This is for us," he'd say, gripping Joshua's hand on the subway home. "For every kid like we were." One crisp November evening, as snow dusted the stoops, Kenneth planned a surprise. Tickets to a Broadway revival of Angels in America. The seats so close Joshua could feel the actors' breaths. In the intermission, over overpriced wine, Kenneth turned to him, eyes shining. You saved me, you know that? Before you, I was just surviving. Joshua kissed him there, in the crowded lobby, uncaring of the stares. Ditto, he murmured, and meant it. The play's echoes, of loss and love, plagues and prophecies, lingered as they walked home arm in arm, the world feeling conquerable. Yet doubt is a thief in the night. Joshua found himself scrolling Kenneth's phone during a rare solo evening, guilt gnawing as he dismissed notifications. Nothing. Relief washed over him, followed by shame. Trust him, he chided himself, curling up with Scout on the couch. The dog's warmth a poor substitute for the man he adored. Winter deepened. Holidays a montage of twinkling lights and eggnog toasts. Emily visited again, her toddler niece tugging at Kenneth's tie, calling him Uncle Ken. Family photos captured their joy. Joshua's arm around Kenneth's waist, smiles wide and genuine. But in quiet moments, Joshua's mind wandered to the freeze, wondering if it was a warning or just wedding jitters amplified by his own baggage. Spring bloomed with renewal. They planted a window box herb garden. Basil thriving, thyme wilting hilariously under Kenneth's overzealous watering. Date nights evolved into pottery classes, where Joshua's lopsided mugs earned Kenneth's teasing applause. Intimacy rebuilt brick by brick, until one humid July night, sweat-slick and urgent, Joshua whispered, "I love you," and felt it true, unshadowed. By their first anniversary, the brownstone felt like home, walls lined with Joshua's art and Kenneth's law books in harmonious chaos. They renewed vows informally on the rooftop, just the two of them, Scout as witness, rings exchanged under a harvest moon. To us, Kenneth toasted with cheap champagne, that smile radiant. Joshua clinked glasses, heart full. To us. But as the bubbles fizzed, a faint unease stirred, like the distant rumble of thunder on a clear day. Summer's haze gave way to autumn's burnished gold, and with it, the first real fracture. It started innocently enough. A firm retreat in the Catskills, Kenneth's team-building, escape that stretched from Friday to Tuesday. Joshua waved him off at Penn Station, kissing him fiercely amid the bustle. "Bring back Esmores," he joked, hiding the pang of 3 empty nights ahead. The first day was fine. Freelance deadlines met, a gallery opening with friends where he sketched strangers' faces, capturing fleeting joys. But by evening, the brownstone echoed too loudly. Scout's whines a mirror to his own restlessness. He texted Kenneth, "Miss your ugly mug." The reply came quick. "Ditto, babe. Cabin fever here. Love you." A heart emoji, standard fare. Tuesday morning, the door swung open to Kenneth. Duffel slung over his shoulder, grin weary but warm. "Survived without me?" He dropped the bag, pulling Joshua into a hug that smelled of pine and promise. "Barely." Joshua nuzzled his neck, relief flooding. They tumbled into bed, lazy and loving, the retreat's anecdotes spilling out between kisses. Ropes courses and trust falls that had Kenneth vowing never to fall for corporate bullshit again. Weeks passed in deceptive calm. Kenneth dove deeper into his pro bono crusade, partnering with a nonprofit on marriage equality cases lingering from pre-Obergefell days. Joshua tagged along to a fundraiser in Soho, the room buzzing with activists and donors, candlelight flickering on faces etched with purpose. Kenneth spoke that night, voice steady, eyes locking on Joshua's across the crowd. "Love isn't a privilege. It's a right we fight for, every damn day." Applause thundered, but Joshua's chest tightened with pride laced with something sharper. Envy, perhaps, for the fire Kenneth channeled so effortlessly. Later, in a cab weaving through rain-slick streets, Joshua confessed, "You were incredible. Makes my doodles feel small." Kenneth squeezed his thigh. "Your art is incredible. It's what keeps me grounded." At home, he proved it, framing a new sketch of them on the mantel, his thumb tracing the lines with reverence. But the calls returned, subtler now, vibrations during dinner, Kenneth silencing his phone with a murmured spam. Joshua noticed the shadows under his eyes, the way he'd linger in the shower, water running longer than necessary. "Everything okay at work?" he'd ask, casual as stirring pasta. Peachy? Kenneth would reply, that smile flashing like a shield. Joshua let it slide, burying doubt under movie marathons and weekend getaways. A cabin in the Adirondacks where they canoed at dawn. Kenneth's laughter echoing off the water as scouts splashed futilely from the shore. Thanksgiving brought Emily and her family again. The brownstone alive with turkey and toddler chaos. Kenneth carved the bird with surgeon's precision, regaling stories of his own southern feasts, minus the don't ask, don't tell undercurrents. As pie steamed on the table, Emily pulled Joshua aside in the kitchen. He's good for you, Josh, but you seem tense, like you're waiting for the other shoe. Joshua shrugged, suds from dishwater clinging to his sleeves. Just life. Firm's kicking his ass. She nodded, but her eyes lingered, sisterly concern a quiet anchor. The holiday glow faded into December's frenzy. Kenneth's schedule ballooned, depositions, deadlines, a high-profile case that had him burning midnight oil. Joshua adapted, filling evenings with online classes in digital illustration, his portfolio swelling with vibrant queer narratives. Couples dancing in neon-lit clubs, hands intertwined against sunset horizons. One blustery night, Joshua came home early from a client meeting, arms full of takeout Thai. The brownstone was dark, Scout's tail thumping from his bed. "Ken? You here?" No answer. The office door ajar, light spilling like an invitation. Joshua set the bags down, curiosity overriding manners. Papers scattered the desk. Briefs, notes, a laptop open to an email chain. Joshua's eyes skimmed, confirming dinner, 8 p.m. "Can't wait to see you." Signed A. His stomach dropped. Below, a photo attachment. Kenneth at a bar, arm around a man with sharp features and a sly grin, both laughing, intimate. Heart slamming, Joshua clicked back. Months of messages, coded affection. Miss our talks, that night was magic. The sender, Alex, a colleague's name Joshua vaguely recalled from holiday parties. The door clicked open downstairs. "Josh? Smells amazing. Wait, babe." Kenneth's voice ascended, then faltered at the threshold. His face drained of color, eyes darting from Joshua's stricken expression to the screen. "It's not," Kenneth started, but Joshua's laugh barked out, bitter and broken. "Not what? Not you, cozy with a..." For months, he shoved the laptop toward him, voice rising. Scout whined, retreating to the kitchen. Kenneth's hands trembled as he scrolled, jaw clenching. "Alex is complicated. We worked closely on the case. It was nothing, flirting maybe, but I swear, Josh, I never crossed the line?" Joshua's vision blurred with hot tears. "While I'm here, trusting your every smile. God, Ken, I froze on our wedding night because I knew something was off. And you, I ended it." Kenneth lunged forward, gripping Joshua's arms. "Before the wedding, he texted last week. I told him to back off. Please, believe me." Joshua wrenched free, chest heaving. "How can I?" That perfect smile. "It's your mask, isn't it? Hiding whatever this is." He stormed past, grabbing his coat, the door slamming like a gunshot. The streets of Bushwick swallowed him, cold air biting his lungs as he walked aimlessly, tears freezing on his cheeks. Hours blurred. A dive bar where he nursed a whiskey, staring at his ring like a traitor. A bench in Maria Hernandez Park, snowflakes dusting his shoulders as memories replayed. That first kiss, the bridge proposal, the way Kenneth's hand fit perfectly in his. Dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving. Joshua's phone buzzed incessantly. Texts, voicemails. "Come home. We need to talk. I love you." He powered it off, the silence deafening. Emily answered on the first ring when he called from a payphone, voice thick with sleep. "Josh? What's wrong?" "Everything." The words choked out, and she didn't pry, just booked him a train to Cleveland, promising a couch and cocoa. The ride north was torture, landscapes blurring past like failed sketches. Emily met him at the station, hugging fierce, no questions until they were bundled in her living room, toddler asleep upstairs. "Betrayal?" she echoed softly, after he spilled it all. Or fear. You've both got histories that make trust a battlefield. Joshua buried his face in his hands. He says it's over. But the doubt. It's poison. She rubbed his back. Go slow. Love's not a sprint. It's a marathon with pit stops for bullshit. He stayed a week, helping with holiday prep, drawing portraits of his niece that captured her gap-toothed glee. Calls to Kenneth were stilted. I need space, Joshua said, and Kenneth granted it, voice hollow, whatever you need. Just don't give up on us. Christmas Eve, a package arrived. A sketchbook, filled with Kenneth's clumsy drawings. Their first date, the wedding, Scout mid-leap. Tucked inside, a note, you're my muse, my everything. I'm sorry. Tears smudged the ink as Joshua traced the lines, heart fracturing anew. New Year's dawned with tentative outreach. Joshua returned to the city, the brownstone a museum of paused life. Uneaten tie congealed on the counter, Scout's ecstatic reunion a bomb. Kenneth waited on the stoop, unshaven, eyes red-rimmed. I hired a PI, he blurted as Joshua approached. On myself. Clean slate, nothing since you. I want transparency, all of it. Joshua searched his face, that smile absent, replaced by raw honesty. Why him? Kenneth sighed, leading him inside. Over coffee, the story unfolded. Alex, a junior associate, sharp and seductive, who'd latched on during late nights. It was ego, escape from the pressure. But it was never real, not like us. He handed over printouts, timestamps proving the end. Forgiveness didn't come easy. Therapy resumed, joint sessions where they dissected the betrayal like surgeons, wounds cauterized with words. Joshua's freezes returned in nightmares, but Kenneth held vigil, whispering affirmations until sleep claimed them. Spring thawed the rift. They volunteered together at a youth center, mentoring queer teens who mirrored their younger selves. Scared, sparkling. One boy, wide-eyed and artistic, reminded Joshua of home. Kenneth's guidance there, patient and fierce, rebuilt trust brick by brick. By summer, intimacy bloomed anew. Not frantic, but profound. A weekend in Provincetown, rainbow flags whipping in the wind, where they danced in a seaside bar, bodies sinking like they'd never parted. I choose you, Kenneth murmured against his ear. Every day. Joshua believed him, the scar of betrayal fading to a faint line. But scars itch, and in the quiet of their brownstone, as fireflies danced outside, Joshua wondered if peace was prelude or pause. The second summer of their mended marriage brought heat waves that turned the city into a steam bath, tempers fraying like old denim. Joshua threw himself into a solo exhibit at a Midtown gallery. His Love in Layers series, abstract portraits peeling back vulnerability's skin. Critics raved, calling it a queer odyssey of the heart. An opening night saw Kenneth beaming from the front row, champagne flute in hand, toasting Joshua's triumph with a kiss that silenced the room. You're a star, Kenneth whispered later, as they navigated the after-party, hands linked against envious glances. Pride swelled in Joshua's chest, mingled with gratitude. For this man who'd weathered his storms, for a life that, against odds, felt victorious. But victory is fleeting. August scorched in and Kenneth's firm landed a marquee client. A tech giant facing discrimination suits from ex-employees, whispers of homophobic boardroom purges. The case was a beast. Depositions in glass towers, strategy sessions till dawn. And Kenneth thrived in its jaws, returning home with war stories and wariness. Joshua adapted, as always. Solo runs along the East River at sunrise, sketching the skyline's jagged teeth. Coffee dates with gallery friends who probed gently, "How's the hubby holding up?" He'd smile, hanging in, and pivot to shop talk, dodging the undercurrent of fatigue. One sweltering Thursday, Joshua got the call at his desk. Emily, voice trembling. "It's Dad. Stroke. He's not good." The world tilted. Their father, the steel-willed mill worker who disowned Joshua a decade ago, now frail in a Cleveland hospital bed. Emily's plea hung unspoken. "Come home." He booked the red eye, texting Kenneth mid-panic, family emergency. Dad. The reply was instant. On my way. Love you. But the case loomed. Kenneth arrived at the airport too late, suit rumpled, apology in his eyes. Go. I'll follow tomorrow. Cleveland was a time warp, Rust Belt gray against blue hospital lights, the scent of antiseptic clashing with Mom's faded lavender. Dad lay tubes snaking like accusations, eyes fluttering open to fix on Joshua with milky confusion. You came. The words rasped, laced with regret or resentment. Joshua couldn't tell. Emily squeezed his hand. He asked for you after the first scare. Days blurred. Bedside vigils where Dad murmured fragments. Proud. Sorry. His homophobia crumbling under mortality's weight. Joshua held his hand, calluses rough against his own, tears tracing paths of absolution. Kenneth arrived on day 3, jet-lagged but steadfast, charming the nurses with southern lilt while anchoring Joshua through the grief. They walked hospital gardens at dusk, fireflies winking like hesitant apologies. This changes things, Joshua said, leaning into him. Maybe. Reconciliation. Kenneth nodded, arms secure around his waist. Whatever you need. Family's messy, but worth it. That night, in a sterile motel, they made love quietly, a reaffirmation amid the chaos. Dad stabilized enough for a halting conversation days later. I was wrong, he wheezed, gripping Joshua's fingers. About you. About love. The words unlocked something ancient in Joshua. A boy's ache, a man's release. He forgave not fully, but enough to plant seeds. Back in New York, the exhibit's buzz lingered, commissions pouring in. Joshua channeled the rawness into a new piece. Reclamation. 2 figures entwined against a fractured skyline. Colors bleeding hope. Kenneth hung it in their bedroom, kissing the canvas. My hero. Autumn leaves turned, and with them, Kenneth's case peaked. The settlement was a win, millions for the plaintiffs. Headlines praising the firm's bold advocacy. Celebrations ensued. A rooftop bash where Kenneth keynote, Joshua watching from the shadows, pride tempered by the man's exhaustion, the way his smile strained at the edges. Post-victory, a lull hit. Kenneth slept late, stared at walls during dinners. Bourbon his companion more than Joshua. Burnout, he called it, waving off concerns. But Joshua saw the ghosts. Alex's specter, perhaps, or deeper wounds from a youth spent hiding. One rainy November eve after a canceled date, Depot ran long. Joshua confronted him over cold lo mein. You're slipping away. Talk to me. Kenneth's fork clattered. I'm fine. Just the pressure. Firms watching, partners circling like vultures. His eyes darted, avoiding Joshua's. Bullshit. Joshua's voice sharpened. This is about trust. Again. If there's something, there's not. Kenneth slammed his palm down, startling them both. Silence stretched, then he deflated. Okay, fine. Remember that retreat? Alex wasn't the only complication. Joshua's blood iced. What? A partner. Harlan. Older, mentor type. It was brief years ago before us. But he reached out during the case. Blackmail vibes subtle. Remember old times. I shut it down, but it's eating me. Rage and hurt collided in Joshua's chest. And you didn't tell me? After everything. I wanted to protect you. Us. Kenneth's voice broke. I'm toxic, Josh. I attract this shit because I'm still that scared kid from Savannah. Joshua stood, chair scraping. Protect me? Or control the narrative? He grabbed his jacket, storming into the downpour, hail mixing with tears. The fight echoed for days. Silent treatments, slammed doors. Joshua crashed with a friend in the East Village, sketching furiously. Dark swirls of betrayal, figures fracturing. Kenneth's texts pleaded therapy. Alone first, then us. Please. Reconciliation came haltingly, over coffee in neutral ground. A diner where grease sizzled like accusations. Kenneth slid a folder across. Session notes, Harlan's cease and desist from the firm's ethics board. No more secrets. I promise. Joshua scanned the pages, heart warring. One more chance. But if it breaks again. It won't. Kenneth's hand covered his, steady. You're my North Star. Winter wrapped them in tentative warmth. Joint therapy unpacked Kenneth's patterns. Daddy issues. Internalized shame fueling reckless dalliances. Joshua confronted his own codependency. The freeze a shield against abandonment. Progress was glacial but real. Date nights enforced, phones open, vulnerability a daily practice. Spring heralded growth. Dad's recovery allowed a visit. Awkward barbecue in the backyard. Mom's potato salad a peace offering. Kenneth charming with grill master flair. Dad clapped Joshua's shoulder. Gruff. Good man you got. The words healed fissures Joshua hadn't known bled. By June, their second anniversary loomed. Kenneth planned meticulously. A vow renewal in Central Park, intimate with Emily and a handful of friends, under the same canopy of roses. Joshua walked the aisle. Really just a path. Heart pounding not with fear, but anticipation. I choose you, flaws and all. He vowed, rings sliding home. The reception was joy distilled. Laughter, cake smeared on noses, Scout in a bow tie chasing frisbees. As dusk fell, Kenneth pulled him aside, eyes alight. 1 year down, forever to go. Joshua kissed him, deep and sure. Forever. But in the crowd's cheers, a figure lingered at the edge, tall, shadowed, watching. Joshua blinked. Gone. Imagination he dismissed, pulling Kenneth closer. Yet, as fireworks cracked overhead, the unease returned, a whisper. What if forever's just another mask? Independence Day painted the city in explosive color, but for Joshua and Kenneth, it marked a turning point, or so they hoped. The renewal's afterglow lingered through barbecues on the roof, where friends grilled burgers and stories, toasting the couple's resilience. You two are unbreakable, a painter friend slurred, clinking bottles. Joshua smiled, arm around Kenneth's waist, but unbreakable things bend before they snap. The firm promoted Kenneth to senior partner that month, a coup that came with a corner office and corner time. Late nights became norm, Joshua waking to empty sheets, the bedside clock mocking with 3:17 a.m. glows. Big fish, Kenneth explained over hurried breakfasts, pecking his cheek. This could mean equity, stability for us. Joshua nodded, swallowing envy. His own career flourished. A book deal for Love in Layers. Illustrations paired with queer poets' verses. But success felt solitary, sketches piling while Kenneth chased billable hours. Cracks widened subtly. Scout's vet bills strained the joint account. Joshua covered them solo, resentment simmering unspoken. Date nights devolved to Netflix on the couch. Kenneth dozing mid-episode. Remote slipping from lax fingers. Intimacy flickered. Kisses turning chaste. Touches hesitant as if relearning trust. One humid August afternoon, Joshua's editor called. The launch party's a go. Black tie MoMA. Bring your muse. Excitement bubbled. Visions of Kenneth in tux. That smile flashing under chandeliers. He texted, book party next month. You in? Hell yes. Proud of you. But as launch neared, excuses mounted. Depositions, flights to D.C. for hearings. The night before, Kenneth stumbled in at midnight, tie askew, bourbon on his breath. Client dinner ran long. Sorry, babe. Joshua's jaw tightened. You promised. I know. Kenneth rubbed his temples. Rain check? Go solo, you'll kill it. The party was a whirlwind. Critics fawning, poets reciting amid clinking glasses. Joshua's cheeks aching from grinning. He scanned for blonde hair, blue eyes, nothing. A hollow victory, champagne turning bitter. Home found him on the fire escape, book in lap, city lights blurring through tears. Kenneth's key turned at 2 a.m. How was it? Empty without you. Joshua's voice cracked. What are we doing, Ken? Chasing shadows? Kenneth sank beside him, head in hands. I'm drowning. The promotion, it's a trap. Harlan's back, angling for my spot. Subtle sabotage, whispers in meetings. His confession spilled. Veiled threats, old affair dredged as leverage. I can't quit, not now. But it's killing me. Joshua's heart fractured. And us? Collateral? No. Kenneth gripped his knee. You're my lifeline. But the words rang hollow. Exhaustion etching lines Joshua hadn't noticed. Fall deepened the divide. Joshua's book tour pulled him to Chicago, San Francisco. Crowds devouring his vulnerability while his marriage starved. Calls home were clipped. Miss you, love you, static-laced promises. Back in October, a storm hit, literal and figurative. Hurricane remnants flooded subways, stranding Joshua at the gallery after a signing. Kenneth's "Where are you?" pinged as thunder rolled. Stuck. You? Office. Harlan cornered me, resigned tomorrow. The words landed like lightning. Joshua's cab ride home was a blur. Arriving to find Kenneth pacing the living room, resignation letter crisp on the coffee table. It's done, Kenneth said, voice raw. No more games. I want out for us. Relief warred with wariness. They talked till dawn. Dreams deferred. A smaller firm with better balance. Therapy ramped up. Rebuild from scratch, Joshua agreed, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of hope. Winter brought fragile peace. Kenneth joined a boutique practice focused on civil rights, hours humanized, allowing mornings tangled in sheets, scouts' paws pattering for walks. Joshua's book climbed charts, readings a stage for their story. Edited, of course, the betrayals glossed as bumps. But Harlan's shadow lingered. An anonymous email arrived one snowy December morn. Grainy photos, Kenneth and the man, time-stamped pre-wedding, intimate in a hotel bar. He'll do it again, the note read. Joshua's hands shook, forwarding to Kenneth without a word. Confrontation erupted over mulled wine. Who sent this? Kenneth demanded, face ashen. Does it matter? It's proof. You lied about ending it clean. Joshua's voice rose, scout fleeing the room. I didn't lie. That was the last time, before the proposal. Kenneth's eyes pleaded. Harlan. Has to be. Petty revenge. Joshua laughed. Hollow. Or karma. How many last times? Ken. I'm tired of being the fool with the perfect husband. He left again, this time for Emily's. Thanksgiving a somber affair. Dad's health rallying but Joshua's crumbling. Leave him, Emily urged over pie. You deserve peace. But I love him, Joshua whispered, the truth a thorn. Christmas reconciliation attempt. Kenneth at the door, wrapped in scarves and sorrow, a therapy referral in hand, a couple's retreat in the Berkshires. One weekend. No expectations. They went snow-blanketing pines like forgiveness. Days of hikes and hot cocoa, nights of tear-streaked talks by firelight. Kenneth bared it all. The affairs as self-sabotage, fear of unworthiness rooted in a father's rejection. You're the first real thing. Don't let me ruin it. Joshua shared his freezes. Not just nerves, but echoes of Dad's disdain, making love feel like surrender. I want to believe you. Help me. The retreat mended seams but not seams. Back home, trust was a tightrope. Check-ins, boundaries etched in stone. Spring bloomed with caution. Picnics in the park, where Kenneth's smile felt earned, not effortless. Yet, as tulips pushed through soil, so did suspicion. Joshua found a burner phone in Kenneth's coat. For work contacts, he claimed, but the lie hung heavy. No proof, just intuition's gnaw. June's Pride Parade was their test. Floats thundering down Fifth, rainbows a riot of reclamation. They marched hand in hand, chanting for rights they'd fought to claim. In the crowd's surge, Kenneth's grip tightened. This, you and me. It's worth everything. Joshua squeezed back, believing. But amid the cheers, his eyes caught a face. Alex, in the throng, gaze locked on Kenneth with predatory gleam. Heart stuttering, Joshua pulled away. Friend of yours. Kenneth paled. Ex-colleague. Ignore him. The seed of doubt sprouted, thorny and insistent. July's heat pressed like an interrogation. The brownstone a pressure cooker of unspoken accusations. Joshua's burner phone discovery festered. Dinners tense with subtext. Laughter forced. Kenneth tried. Flowers on the counter. surprise tickets to a Yankees game. But Joshua's smiles cracked at the edges, therapy sessions devolving into monologues of mistrust. Paranoia's the enemy now, their counselor urged. A no-nonsense dyke with silver streaks. Evidence or release? Joshua nodded, but release felt like surrender, evidence like self-harm. The breaking point came mid-month, a humid Friday when Kenneth's late meeting stretched to bar close. Joshua, unable to sleep, tracked his phone. Agreed upon transparency. To a dive in Hell's Kitchen, a leather bar known for its shadows. Hard in throat, he cabbed over, pushing through the door into strobe-lit haze, bass thumping like a migraine. There, Kenneth at a corner booth, Harlan across from him, faces close over whiskey tumblers. Not arguing, laughing, Harlan's hand on Kenneth's arm. Proprietary. Joshua's vision tunneled, betrayal a fist to the gut. He turned, fleeing before confrontation, the night air a slap. Home, he packed a bag, essentials, sketchpad, scout's leash, leaving a note. Done pretending. Find your perfect smile elsewhere. The door clicked shut, final as a guillotine. He crashed at the gallery owner's loft in Tribeca, a cavernous space of canvases and cat hair. Nights spent sketching feverishly. Fractured portraits, smiles shattered into shards. Friends rallied, brunches laced with "You deserve better." Emily's daily calls a lifeline. "Bye kids with me," she assured. Scout's Zoom cameos tail wags of solidarity. Kenneth's bombardment began. Texts, voicemails, flowers wilting on the stoop. It wasn't what it looked like. Harlan cornered me. Threats about the resignation. Please. Joshua deleted. Blocked. The silence a bomb and a bruise. Weeks blurred into a numb routine. Tour residuals funding freedom. New pieces born of rage. Shattered vows. A gallery darling that sold out overnight. Critics lauded the visceral authenticity. Unaware it bled from life. August brought a summons. Divorce papers? No fault? Kenneth's signature already inked. If that's what you need, the cover note read. I love you enough to let go. Joshua stared at the pages. Pen hovering. Tears blurring ink. Signing felt like amputation, but staying like slow poison. The night before filing. A storm raged. Thunder like artillery. Lightning etching guilt in white flashes. Sleep evaded. Memories assaulted. That bookstore collision, bridge sunrise, rooftop dances. Was it all a lie? No, love had been real, twisted by fears they couldn't conquer. Dawn broke gray. Joshua dressed, papers in envelope, heading to the courthouse. But en route, a detour, the brownstone. One last look, closure's cruel gift. The door was ajar. Kenneth's sloppiness or invitation? Inside, devastation. Suitcases half-packed, Scout's toys scattered. A half-empty bourbon bottle on the mantel. Voices from the bedroom, low, urgent. Joshua froze, eavesdropping like a ghost. Can't keep doing this to him. Kenneth's voice wrecked. I love him, but I'm broken. Therapy's not enough. A woman's reply. Emily? No. A stranger's timbre. Soft. Then fix yourself first. For both of you. Heart hammering, Joshua pushed the door. There. Kenneth, cross-legged on the bed, facing a video call screen where a therapist's face nodded compassionately. No Harlan, no betrayal, just a man unraveling alone. Kenneth's head snapped up, eyes widening in shock, then devastation. Josh, God, no. It's not. I know. Joshua's voice steadied, bag dropping. The therapist excused herself gracefully, screen going dark. Silence stretched, electric. Kenneth stood, tentative. I was packing, giving you space. The meeting with Harlan? He tried leverage old photos for a reference smear. I told him to fuck off, recorded it. But I get why you ran. Joshua sank onto the bed, papers spilling. I saw you laugh, touched him. It broke me. Defusing, Kenneth whispered. Fake it till the threat's gone. But you're right. I'm a magnet for mess. Unless, Joshua's breath caught. Unless we fight together. Full disclosure. A sponsor, AA for the bourbon slips. Weekly check-ins with her. He gestured to the laptop. No more solos. Joshua searched his face. No mask, just marrow-deep weariness. Love's stubborn flame. I'm scared. Me too. Kenneth knelt, taking his hands. But scared together? That's our story. Tears came then, mutual, cathartic. They talked. Not accusations, but blueprints. Boundaries ironclad, sabbaticals planned. A move upstate whispered for breathing room. The papers, shredded, confetti of second chances. Fall arrived gentle, leaves a carpet of redemption. They sold the brownstone, trading urban grind for a Hudson Valley cottage. Creaky floors, wild gardens, scout romping in fields. Joshua's studio overlooked the river, canvases alive with renewal. Couples mending, smiles scarred but sincere. Kenneth's new firm was remote-friendly, cases chosen for passion over pay. Evenings found them cooking, burnt attempts yielding laughter. Then curling by the hearth, therapy homework read aloud like love letters. Winter's first snow blanketed their world soft. On anniversary eve 3rd, by grace, they renewed again, just witnesses. Emily, the therapist, a circling owl. Vows evolved. I choose your shadows, as you choose mine. Together, unbroken. The kiss sealed it, snowflakes melting on lashes. No freeze, just fire deep, enduring. Years folded forward. Joshua's gallery in the village nearby, books a series. Kenneth's advocacy earning accolades, speeches laced with their truth. Betrayals became backstory, fuel for empathy. Mentoring couples on the brink, hands held across divides. One dusk, on their rooftop, cottage edition, stars pricking the ink sky. Joshua sketched Kenneth's profile, that smile now etched with lines of living. Still perfect, Kenneth teased. Perfectly ours. Joshua capped the pencil, pulling him close. Below, the world turned flawed, fierce, human. And in that embrace, they knew. Love wasn't flawless. It was the choice daily to thaw the freeze.